The fat-tailed sheep. Sheep in the West often have a pretty classic look to them, but the oldest and most common form of sheep that have been shepherded by humans are these big booty beauties, and I ain't talking about your mums. Unlike European sheep, these are bred primarily for their meat and don't actually produce much wool at all. Their large rumps are where all their fat is stored, so their bodies can stay cool and are great sources of meat. Because of this, their tails are left to grow incredibly long. In fact, they used to grow so long that farmers would make little wooden carts so the tail wouldn't drag along the ground. Beluga whales have big bulbous heads, but did you know that they're super squishy too? The heads are filled with oil and wax and are used to direct the sounds they make. Sounds start at the blowhole, and using this big squishy melon of a head, they change its shape, changing the focus of the sound. The Honduran white bat is probably most known as a species of Rouge the Bat from the Sonic the Hedgehog series, but did you know her breasts are fake? I'm just joking. That's not the fact. Here's a real fact. Did you know they're not an ordinary bat? Most bats hang from trees or cave ceilings, but these bats actually build their own tent-like structures to sleep under by biting the veins of huge leaves around them into a cozy little home. There's a million different things I could say about the naked mole rat, but let's settle with the way their society works. It's the only mammal to be widely recognized as having a eusocial society. What does that mean? Their society looks more like a beehive than a rabbit warren. There's queens that produce the offspring, workers that dig and gather food. It's an incredible deviation from what pretty much any other mammal society in the world does. The maned wolf is a rare creature that mostly lives in South America, and is the last remaining species of its genus, meaning it's not a wolf at all. It actually looks more like a fox walked through a funhouse mirror, giving it long striding legs adapted to open savanna. These maned wolves have a very distinct call known as the roar bark, an incredibly loud sound to make its presence known to every animal for miles around. Boo! Jump scare. Sorry, I was just following the example set by moths and butterflies. There are some species that try to blend into their environment with camouflage wings, but if the threat they're hiding from gets too close, too eager, then BAM! Bright colors and blazing fake eyes to spook you away. Sea cucumbers come in all shapes and sizes, but none are more adorable than the sea pig. Typically, they live over 1,000 meters deep into the ocean, sifting through the seabed and extracting rich particles out of the mud. Much like a pig nuzzling through delicious truffles, eels are found all over the world, but their behaviors are actually shrouded in mystery. We don't know exactly where they spawn or even how they behave when they do. Even with all the tech and knowledge, we've narrowed it down to the Saragossa Sea by using satellites and trackers to follow European eels as they make the journey for thousands of miles for over a year. However, while we know where they go and the raw technical ways they reproduce, their natural behaviors are still unknown. If you've seen the movie Leo about an elderly lizard who escapes the terrarium, you'll know Leo is specifically a Tautara. However, a Tautara isn't actually a lizard at all. It's part of the order Rhynchocephalia and the last remaining species of the group. They used to be incredibly diverse in the Mesozoic era, but that was hundreds of millions of years ago when dinosaurs roamed the earth. Nowadays, they're a threatened species, but hopefully they'll keep going and become as diverse as they ever were. The king cobra is probably the most famous of the bunch, but technically speaking, they're not really true cobras at all. They're a distinct genus and are only connected to the larger family of snakes. They're as connected to true cobras as they are to black mambas or even sea snakes. Fish are such a wide and varied collection of animals that many people don't like to classify them in the same group at all. A shark is so completely different to a mudfish, it's almost laughable. However, sometimes even wildly evolutionary distant animals can surprise with how compatible they are, as scientists found out in 2022 when they accidentally bred two completely different fish together and birthed a whole new species called the sturddlefish. Wild boar can have some impressive tusks, but maybe a bit too impressive. The babirusa can grow tusks so long that they curl back into their own heads. It's mostly the males with such massive tusks, grown for fighting, but if it gets too long, they can end up getting punctured by their own teeth. Axolotls are incredibly cute, but have you ever had one as a pet? Due to the extremely low temperatures that they live in, their cold-blooded bodies have adapted by slowing their metabolism to a crawl. This means their reactions are quite literally mind-numbingly slow. Drop some food in front of them and it'll take a few seconds for it to register that anything has happened at all. The Yeti crab looks ready for a fabulous stage performance, but the frills aren't just for show. That's their dinner plate. They wave their arms arms through the murky depths across hydrothermal vents, catching any food in their fluff and picking it out with their claws. It's a pretty sweet trick. The goblin shark looks like a living horror, and in the scientific world is called the living fossil. It's the last of the Mitsacurinidae family, which started 125 million years ago. They live deep in the ocean, 100 meters down, with adults growing even deeper, over 1,000 meters into the dark, where no human can be freaked out by their horror movie looks. The Echidna live in Australia, which have had some really intense wildfires recently. Luckily, these critters have a special technique to survive the danger. Their feet and claws are specifically designed to dig, and can actually dig directly down below them, sinking into the ground in under a minute. They then slow their metabolism and wait out the danger until it's all gone. However, they also have really long spines, which are a lot like hair. They're not living tissues, so if they dig down, they can't feel if their spines are covered or not. It's not uncommon for Echidna to emerge from the ashes with their spines melted away into a flat plane, as though someone had come at them with a big pair of scissors. The giant isopod looks like your average little woodlouse, which they're actually related to. But wait until you see someone holding one. They're absolutely massive. These monstrously huge creatures can be over a foot long. However, just like regular woodlice, they rummage around, scavenging, and really are just big sweeties who pose no threat to people at all. Jellyfish are also some of the oldest forms of creature, with a jellyfish fossil being found last year dating back 505 million years ago. Compared to them, humans have barely been around for an afternoon. Jellyfish are strange creatures that are hard to study. So when mega swarms known as jellyfish blooms filled the oceans, it was hard to figure out what to do about it. They may not have centralized brains, but they're not mindless, moving with clear intent in massive swarms, packed so close that they're more jelly than there is water. Horseshoe crabs have a reputation of never changing for millions of years. There's fossils from way back in prehistoric Earth that look almost exactly the same as modern-day horseshoe crabs. However, it turns out that that's only skin deep. On a genetic level, they've been changing constantly, just like everything else on this planet. It just seems like they physically fit their evolutionary needs pretty well, and have no plans to change up their style just yet. Cats are often called independent or loners, but that couldn't be further from the truth. They often create vast and elaborate social structures within the neighborhood. Cats have been seen having hangout sessions and even gathering together in great meetings for the local cat community. Younger cats will look to older cats to learn about the world, and they'll even act as security for kittens or cats going through pregnancy. Swans act as bodyguards for other water birds. They don't even need to be carted into a specific flock. Swans and geese have been seen protecting smaller water birds like ducks and wading birds against predators. Swans in particular make their presence known by either guiding other birds away or standing up to smaller predators with a hiss and a bite. Alpaca aren't just cute and covered in lovely wool, they're actually great protectors. It's become common practice now for sheep farmers to bring in a few alpaca to defend the rest of the flock. Since they're so big and are willing to help any similar animal against predators like coyotes and foxes, cassowaries are big, violent, and frighteningly impressive birds that can kill with a single kick. They even sound scary, with an incredibly loud long-distance call that is by far the lowest frequency sound produced by any bird alive today. It borders on infrasound, and some examples are so low that you need decent headphones to hear it at all. This terrifying rumble is so loud in real life that it can shake your very core if you're nearby. Huskies are known for their striking eyes, piercing blue, deep brown, or even one of each. Having two colored different eyes is known as heterochromia and occurs in all sorts of animals, including humans. But in huskies, it's incredibly common. Around 10% of huskies have heterochromia, and with such startling, vibrant eye colors, it's no wonder people are drawn to them. Ostriches showing courtship behavior to humans has shown that when a bird has a lot of human interaction from an early age, they can see humans as potential partners, and will sometimes even dance for them to entice their potential mate. Ostriches have one of the most iconic mating dances, and they're pretty easy to film because they might be doing it for the humans handling them. Have you ever heard a baby crocodile's voice? Crocodile parents take good care of their young, so the babies often get very loud when calling for attention, but instead of a growl or a hiss, they sound like little laser guns. It's absolutely adorable, but better not pick one up when it's calling for its mum, eh? Don't know why I went, eh? Every morning, songbirds all sing the dawn chorus, where they sing to the other birds, telling each other about their day, how they're doing, and what's been going on in the neighborhood. Well, did you know that fish do the same thing? It's very recently been found that fish that live in coral reefs make popping, grunting, and whooping noises to each other. And the most calls are made in their own version of a dawn chorus. Bees are always buzzing around, and sometimes they need a nice rest and a comfy bed. What better bed is there than a lovely soft flower? Bees can often be found adorably curled up with their best friend inside a flower, resting after a long day, holding each other's feet to stay balanced. You already knew that cats drink water by licking it, but why can't we do the same? Well, I mean, kinda can, right? Cat tongues have little hollow spikes that use air pressure to suck and gather as much water as possible, giving them a tasty drink without having to tip a glass into their mouth like we have to. What's even weirder is that these spikes are made of the same material as a rhino's horn. That explains why they're so rough.